better. Much, much better. My name's Kate MacGregor, and I am a stampeder. I'm a camp follower. What happened in 1858 that you would look for a stampeder or a camp follower? Pardon?
Oh, gold rush?
It was the gold rush. Up Fraser's River, not the Fraser River, but Fraser's River is how it was referred to at that time. And they estimate that something in the neighborhood of 30,000 people came up Fraser's River looking for gold. Now, those 30,000 people weren't all men. There's approximately 2% that were women. So about 2%, if you can do the math, are female. And I am a camp follower, one of the women that went with whoever I could make a living with, I could eat with, who would look after me, who would help me with my gear. The river is the road, but by the time you get to what we now know as Hope, the road disappears, the river disappears, because it's just too rough to get a boat up. And so you're on foot, and you're walking. If you're really lucky, you might have access to a horse, or to somebody who will pack some of your gear for you. So unlike Dana, I'm dressed down, I'm dressed to work. So here am I going to show you, gentlemen, turn your heads please, because you're going to see my petticoats. And these are, as Dana said, easily laundered, because if you look at my skirt, this is really quite heavy. It would take days and days to dry. Yeah. On my feet, I have working boots. Like this. I'm not wearing moccasins. If you went to see me in my camp, I would have moccasins on because they're softer. They're easier to work around camp. And what am I doing working around camp? I'm cooking. I'm cooking whatever can come my way. Somebody might get a moose if you're really, really lucky. But on Fraser's River, you're eating salmon, a lot of salmon, or other kinds of fish. So you know, if you've ever gutted a fish, it's pretty mucky and meshy. It does smell a lot, yeah. But you know what? If you're hungry, you're going to eat it, right? He likes fish. I'm glad to hear that, because it's good for you. Now, I am wearing a lot of the tools that I need. Look at my belt.
A knife, police steel on the front, and
This supports my back, this wide belt. I have a knife handy. I'm using a knife all the time, whether I'm cooking around a fire. If somebody's brought me a fish, I can get the fish with my knife. I also have what's known as a canoe cup, and when I'm thirsty, I can dip that cup into the river and have a drink. And this is for my treasures, and every now and then I get treasures. And what is a treasure? Somebody might give me a really pretty colored rock. If I'm really lucky, and it's a stampeder and he's been successful, it'll be a color gold. And I like gold. I have a paisley shawl that I wear to keep me nice and warm. Notice I'm color coordinated with my skirt. That's not usual. And I also have an extra bag. This is for my lunch, whatever my lunch happens to be. Any kind of other treasure that has to be in there as well. So everything I wear is got to be comfortable. It's got to be washable at some point. I got to be prepared to sleep in it, eat in it, ride on a horse in it. It's very adaptable, and there's no such thing as going to a store and getting any extras. I'm not going to go to the storehouse there and find anything that would be fashionable for a woman. If you'll notice, my shirt's a man's shirt. It's got lots of room, unlike what Dana was wearing, where she's wearing a corset and she's quite tucked in up top. If I'm cooking over an open fire, and some of you probably have done that, you know that you need to have lots of mobility. So just think of those 6,000 women who came up with those 30,000 men. Not all of them were like me, a stampeder. Some of them had a little more, shall we say, easier way of living. But we were all women, and we were all in a time when women had no status whatsoever in the law. We were just workers, and we were handy to have around. Gentlemen, today, I hope you don't think that about the gals that are in your life. Because if you do, I have a knife and I can use it really well. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
You see a little bit of a different dress from the people that you've come up first to myself. I have nowhere near the amount of civility that these people do, but I consider myself better than everybody. A little bit of a peacock. I'm a trapper. I can hire myself out also for guiding and also for hunting. I can also take jobs anywhere I like, but the person who's the employer that gets most of it is Hudson's Bay Company. The clothing I'm wearing is not indicative of the First Nations in this area. They're more clothing that would be indicative of somewhere up around Cache Creek to the Okanagan to the east side of the Rockies. I've made all of my clothing, and regardless of what you might think that I'm presented like right now, I've got my best clothes on because I've come in here and I've shown off that I'm successful, I've survived another year, I've got all my best, most expensive jewelry on, I'm wearing my bank account. I've got my one and only shirt on, and I put that on to show you all how wealthy I am doing. I only have this one shirt. Anybody that's ever worn one shirt for whatever length of time, you know it doesn't take very long, basically about a month and a half, and this thing's going to be a rag. I have to know how to sew because I have to fix everything just about every day. If this wears out, the nice thing is that I hunt and trap. I can shoot a deer, and a couple days worth of work, I can turn that into leather and make myself my own shirt, which is what's happened with what I'm wearing around my legs. This has taken 2 elk hides to turn into the leggings that I'm wearing. These are not trousers like you've seen here. They're not pants. They are called leggings. Somebody else might call them chaps. They only come up as high as the inside of the groin, and they tie up to a belt. So I'll flash a little white backside there. That is what's going to be. The nice thing about myself, in my view, I don't have to sweat like this gentleman does to maintain his station. If I get really hot, myself, trappers, the First Nations that would wear these clothes, you could take your moccasins off, untie the leggings, take those off, moccasins are back on, and I'm stuck wearing one piece of clothing. I might still have a shirt on. It's called a loincloth. That is a 1 foot by about 7 foot piece of wool. How you put that on in the morning, you start as you were born. First thing goes on is a leather belt around your waist. You take that piece of cloth, that goes up and over the belt, straight down, between the legs, and then it's pulled up and then over the belt, down the back. So all the nasty bits get covered. Now, there are no pockets on these. So the belts I have are no different than the ones that are shown here for people that work for a living. Everything I need for my day is around my belt, so I can use that. I've got a fire starting kit on one side. I carry a knife behind me, and what I carry, no, I do not carry weapons. I carry tools. The weapon I have is between my ears. The pouch is on the side here. Someone gave me a watch one time, so I'm barely knowing how to use it, but it sounds nice, so I keep wearing that. Now, there was an affiliation at some point, so there was another company called the Northwest Company, so there was some work, but I keep that out of the way and just have the Hudson's Bay one out so that I don't offend any of the gentry. Some of the tools around the back here as well, an axe or a tomahawk, knives. If anybody spent any time out in the bush, you know that if you do not have a knife, you're not going to do very well. At least with a knife, you can start a fire, you can skin fish, you can cut animals, you can basically make shelter. So it's needed tools. All of the stuff that is around my neck, again, this is my most expensive jewelry. So this is basically showing off. I would not hunt or trap in this. It's too noisy. This would be in a bag I carry with me. When I come down and it's brigade, we're getting all together, I would stop upriver, strip down, and washing for me basically means getting the worst bit so I can stand myself. If my hair is greasy, a handful of sand out of the river, and that will get the grease out. I carry soap, but it's more expensive. It's better for me because I trade it to somebody else. I'd rather make money doing that than smelling like flowers. Scottish background, so I do wear a tam, just proud of my own heritage. I am not Métis. Métis are actually people that are mixed blood of the Europeans and the First Nations. I am a European person who is a trapper. The clothing shows a heavy First Nations influence. Reason for that is that I can't go from community to community and go to the Walmart and then go to Superstore and then go where my clothing, if I don't make it myself, which I have with the elk, I have to purchase it or trade it. And sometimes not only trade would take place, the First Nations women would also get involved in trade by making moccasins. They would be making the clothes, they're making them for their own family and their men. So if there's extra clothing and I come in and I look like an absolute ragamuffin, I might be able to negotiate a trade to get some clothes. Well, those clothes are going to be reflective of the people that I'm going through. What's on my feet are moccasins. They're made out of both the moose and elk hide. And yes, there are spurs behind there, just post spurs. When I get up into the interior beyond Fort Hope, there's sets of horses that I help out with the trains that are going up into the interior. So I ride with those. I do have guns that I carry. Those are in my tent. We will be doing a 2 o'clock demonstration on that down here. And I think I've basically covered everything. The sash, that's been mentioned a few times. It shows a working relationship with the Hudson's Bay Company. As was mentioned, different patterns on there, different colors, would be similar. You would be able to look at that if you knew very well and tell what part of Quebec that would come from. No different than the white cable knit sweaters that the Irish wear. You can look at the different cabling and be able to tell what part of that island they're coming from. This works for me both as a tump line. So if I take this off, right now I'm just showing off, which I tend to do. I can take this off and tie it around a heavy burden and it would be a burden strap. So I could just put this over top and I could carry weight on my back. If I'm going to do heavy lifting, I've hired myself out just as general labor. I'll take that off, double wrap it around my belly, pull it tight and tie a knot. Now I've got an abdominal belt. And if I need to, I carry needles in some of my pouches. There's a whole lot of wool thread that I can use there for sewing. So everything is usable. It's also replaceable. These leggings are not going to last long. If they wear out or they get completely filthy, yes, I'm going to shoot another deer or elk, tan at it again. How do I clean them? White clay. The white clay you get along some parts of the river. I do have some around here somewhere, but I take that white clay, I powder it down, and then I just rub it on, because what's happening here, these are just grease and sweat stains. The powder, all that does is it gets in the leather and helps draw some of the sweat out. They will eventually wear out. Everything gets patched eventually. Knees are patched, moccasin soles are patched, clothing will be patched, everything. As I said, the end of the day, part of what I'm going to have to do before I feed myself is sit and fix everything. I don't travel with anybody that can do that work for me. I do it all myself.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gord.